Hey guys, so this is a video for targeted individuals. Um, if you're not a targeted individual or if you don't know what that is, you can do a Google search, but I mean, you're probably not going to understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, I should have done this update 3 months ago. I haven't done one for a couple of months. So a lot of stuff has still been happening. So I'm just going to go through some of this stuff. Back in April, I was waking up, and this happened several times, where I would wake up and hear the sound of buttons, what sounded like buttons being pushed, like electronic buttons being pushed in my room. But it didn't sound like it wasn't beeping. It was more like the sound of miniature bells. So it sounded like buttons being pushed, but it was not like any kind of thing I've heard before. It sounded like each button that was pushed sounded like miniature bells. It's just I don't know how to explain it better than that. And that was happening several that happened several nights in a row. Then I had another blockade experience at the grocery store. Those of you that are TIs will know what I'm talking about. So this guy in this really long wheelchair, and for some reason it happens a lot. They really like to do this with people that are in wheelchairs because I think what they're trying to do is I think that they're trying to create a scene with a handicapped person. I really do. I really think that's what they're attempting to do. I think that's what their goal is because it's happened a lot, and I've heard other TIs say the same thing. It's not an accident. This is something that they do on purpose. But anyway, this guy in this really long wheelchair was parked. This was in the grocery store, and he was parked next to a stack of boxes or something, and he was waiting in line, but he had left a large space in front of him for people to pass through. And instinctively I was coming from the other side of the store, and I could see where I was going, and I wanted to go behind him, but the store manager was standing behind him blocking that path. So the only way I could go was in front of him, and there was plenty of room. He had left a huge gap, but I something in the back of my mind, I just kind of knew. I was like, oh man, please don't let this be another one of these incidents that they do. And I kind of suspected that maybe it would, and sure enough, it was. So I was coming from a long distance away, and he saw me. But as soon as I got up to where he was, and I mean literally like right there, he moved forward. And so I stopped. I was pushing a cart with my son in it, and I turned to go behind him, and the store manager. I went to go in between him and the store manager stepped in front of my cart to block my path. And he was looking right at me. And then one of the store clerks in another aisle called me over. But I knew that was something that was done on purpose. That wasn't an accident. That was a these they do these blockades every now and then at the grocery store that are not accidental. Okay, you have to understand. I mean, if you're not a TI, that there are things that happen just in everyday life, and believe me, I know that. Okay, I've lived for a long time. I've been to the grocery store probably millions of times. I don't really know. A lot. Okay. So I know what's normal. This type of thing is not normal. Okay. This was a blockade. It was not a normal kind of, oops, that was an accident. No, this was something that was done on purpose. There are plenty of accidents that I don't ever mention to you guys. That's because I can tell the difference. Okay, I know the difference between something that's accidental and something that's done on purpose. Um, okay. I'm trying to look through my notes here. Okay, then I had also in April, I had a really sharp pain under my ear. And I've had this many, many times before. And I'll tell you the exact spot. It's under the ear and right where the corner of the jaw is. It's right there in that exact spot. Um, and it was a really sharp pain that I was feeling in my left ear. And like I said, I've had this pain many, many times before. It's really painful. It's really sharp. But the weird thing about this was that right after, or well, maybe not right after, but later that night, I was watching this old episode of X-Files. And in the episode, there was this guy that was an alien abductee, and he's in the episode he started screaming in pain and saying ow, ow, it hurts, and he was holding that exact same spot. I'm talking the exact same spot. He had his fingers right, and was pressing on that exact spot, only it was under his right ear instead of his left ear. And I kind of freaked out because I had just been having that pain earlier that day. It was just so weird. It was like this bizarre coincidence or something where I just happened to watch that episode of X-Files. Um, and and it was just weird because he was pressing it in the same way. Like, that's exactly what I do. Whenever I have that pain, that's the exact thing that I do. I press on it. It was just weird to see him do that in that episode. It was identical, except, like I said, it was his right ear. And in reality, for me, it was my left ear that day. So there's something going on with that. Um, it's not it's not people imagining things from television. It's television being created from reality, okay? I mean, the whole reason that where do these writers get their ideas? They get it from reality, okay? They get it from real life experiences. And then, okay, this was also in April. Um, I got this really sharp pain in my abdomen, and I went to get under my thermal blankets, and within 5 minutes the pain was gone. So I mean, I've told you guys before that I have really intense headaches that I have to wear these caps that I got from lessemf.com, and they reduce the headaches significantly. But the thermal blankets that I have also reduce the headaches. So um, it's not those cheap Mylar thermal blankets that you get. It's the heavy duty aluminized thermal blankets. They do work, and apparently they they also protect from other types of pains other than just the headaches. Because like I said, I had that really, really sharp abdominal pain, and for some reason, I just had a feeling that it might not be natural. So I went and I got under the thermal blankets, and like I said, I'm telling you, within 5 minutes, it was completely gone. And just to explain how the headaches feel, because I don't know if I've explained this for a while. For years, I had these intensive headaches, and I didn't know what was causing it. And it feels like your head is going to explode. It's extremely painful. And I just thought I had really bad migraines. That was what I thought for years. It wasn't until 2010 that all of this that the directed energy weapons attacks and the electronic harassment, quote unquote, just reached an all-time high in 2010, and then that was when I became aware of it, and I started utilizing protection, and and I realized that the protection worked, and then that was how it all started piecing together. But what I was going to say is that I can tell now when the pain is starting, as opposed to just not noticing it for hours and hours and hours, and then just all of a sudden being like, my head's going to explode. Now because I've been utilizing the protection, the less EMF caps, lesscmf.com sells them, because I use those, and I actually have to use them constantly when I'm at home. In fact, I think there was a day, like maybe last month or something, I remember there was a day where there wasn't any pain. It was so weird, and I didn't have to wear the cap at all. And I remember thinking that. I remember, because I'll always kind of test it, you know, to see if I can go without it. Because I mean, I don't want to wear that thing, but I always have to put it on, because what happens is what it feels like is hot needles all over my scalp. The pain starts with the burning all over my scalp, over my entire head, and it feels like little pinpoints. Um, and I also get little sores too, by the way. So it's really really bad, and it's every single day. And so I would have to put that protection on. But I just remember there was this one day, like last month, where there was absolutely no pain whatsoever. It was so bizarre. And I can't remember that ever happening before. There's always pain. So that was weird. But then there was also another day where the pain intensified, just a couple weeks ago. I remember um, I was sitting there, and I had the cap on, and all of a sudden the pain just got really, really intense, and I could just tell that somebody was beaming something on me or something, and it was just really, really intense, and it only lasted for like a few minutes, and then it subsided. But so I mean, I guess there's different levels that they can do with that. And I mean, I really think that they could kill a person with these weapons, but just for some reason they just don't. They don't do that all the time, but they can kill you. I mean, they can stop your heart with these weapons. They could explode your head if they wanted to. You know what I mean? I mean, it's scary what they're doing and the technology that they have. It's really scary. And it's painful for the people that are targeted and that have to go through this every single day. It's painful in multiple ways. Okay, so then there's this new type of harassment that the gang stalkers are doing in public now that I don't recall ever happening before. So for like 2 weeks in a row, for the last 2 weeks, I went to the grocery store, and the first time I was at the store, I was squatting down, and I was looking at something on the bottom shelf, and this man came up and stood directly behind me, like within 2 to 3 feet, directly behind me, and just stood there frozen like a statue. It was very weird and creepy, very creepy. And so I kind of moved to the side, and I stood up and I looked at him, and I'm not going to tell you what the characteristic was, but he had several characteristics that perfectly coincided with this other person that was very abusive to me. So I thought that was very strange, that this person that was very similar to somebody who had been abusive to me was just standing like a statue right behind me, like within 2 to 3 feet, directly behind me, not like off to the side, but directly behind me. Very, very weird. And I mean, it wasn't a crowded store or anything. And then, I guess part of me, I thought, okay, well, it could have been a coincidence, but I really didn't think it was. But then the following week, the same thing happened again with a different person, only this time I was at the store again, and this man was standing outside of the store, and he was pointing his cell phone at me, and I kind of thought, is he filming me? But I usually just blow that off and like, okay, that person might be filming me, but whatever, I don't really know if they are or not, but it looks like it, because you hold your cell phone at a certain angle when you're filming, and it's different angle from when you're just texting somebody. You know what I mean? And so I kind of thought that was weird, but I just blew it off. And then I went into the store and I went over to the section that I normally go to, and he followed me it back into the store. And because I mean, apparently he had been in the store, came out, and then went back in when I went in. And I guess it was his wife, it was a woman with a baby, was standing in the same section that I went over to. I always go to that same section when I walk in the store. He went over to her, he dropped something in her basket, and she kind of acted like she was irritated, like, where have you been, or what are you doing, or something like that. And then I kept noticing this guy everywhere I went in the store. And I was thinking it was weird because he wasn't holding a basket. He didn't have any products in his hands whatsoever. He would just, I'd go through the store just like I normally do. And then boom, there he'd be just standing there like it was weird. It was like he was just standing there frozen like a statue. It was so creepy. And like I said, it's just like, what is he doing? It doesn't even look like he's shopping. So I knew, I was like, oh man, this guy's a gang stalker. I just know it. But I just went on with my business like I normally do because I've been experiencing this stuff for 17 years, okay? So I just was like, whatever, just get this done as fast as I can and get out of here. So I was I'm at this shelf with my mom and my son are right there, and I'm talking to my mom trying to decide how much of something I need to get. And all of a sudden she kind of looks behind me and she nods her head like, look behind you. And I turn around, and that same guy that kept showing up everywhere, the one with the cell phone, he's standing directly behind me, like, again, like 2 to 3 feet behind me, directly behind me, just standing there like a statue. It was the same exact thing that other guy did at the other store the week before. Just really creepy and really scary and weird. And so I guess that's like a new thing that they're doing now, because I don't recall I don't recall that happening before. I mean, I don't know if that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen before. I just don't remember that happening before. It was very creepy, and it happened 2 weeks in a row. Um, okay, so then I had a series of, and this goes on all the time, where I'm just being interrogated intensively in my dreams. I'm being accused and interrogated. My dreams are being manipulated. I'm being forced to do things in my dreams that I would never do in real life. Um, I'm being assaulted at night while I sleep, physically assaulted. Okay. And I don't know if I'm comfortable telling you in what way, because honestly, I don't want to freak anybody out or anything, but I have told you guys a little bit about this before. So if you really, really want to know, you can go watch my other videos. My story, it's on my homepage. But I've told you that I've been assaulted in the past physically while I'm sleeping. And it has continued, and it still happens, and it's very, very, very disturbing. Um, and I don't. It usually occurs when, for some reason, the thermal blanket is removed. Like it happened a couple of weeks ago, and I realized that I woke up. I was being assaulted, and I woke up, and I reached down for the thermal blanket, and I realized that it had been lowered, and it was like kind of off of me. And so I pulled it up, and then it happened again, I think last week, and I was I was being assaulted and I woke up, and and I realized that again the thermal blanket was off of me, and for some reason this time one of my legs was on top of the thermal blanket. And I know that if I am not covered with that thermal blanket, I will be assaulted. I know that. Okay. So um I just wouldn't put my leg over the top of the thermal blanket. I just wouldn't do that. I mean, I must have been just completely out of it to put my leg over the top of the thermal blanket. But sure enough, I was assaulted again. So, I mean, it's it's extremely, I don't even want to I don't want to tell you guys. I don't want to talk about it in detail because I don't want to freak people out. But it is assaults. Okay, I'm being assaulted physically on a regular basis, it seems like. I don't think there's any like pattern to it, but it's whenever I'm not covered by the thermal blanket. For if whatever reason that thermal blanket is not on me, I will be assaulted. Okay, the reason that I know that my dreams are being manipulated is, like I said, I have these dreams where I'm doing things that I just would never do. And that's one reason I know they're being manipulated. The other reason that I know they're being manipulated is because I've seen things in my dream, and then I'll wake up and I'll close my eyes and I can still see the light imprint when I close my eyes. You know what I mean? Like if you look at a light bulb and then you close your eyes, you can still see the imprint of the light bulb. It's like that. So I mean that just tells me right there, okay, um, they're somehow able to cause me to see things in my dreams. But that's not all. I mean, it really seems like my dreams are being completely manipulated. I'm being interrogated at times in my dreams. Um, I can tell, like, they'll ask me questions about just personal questions, all kinds of questions. They'll put me through scenarios to try to see what I do. But then what's the point of doing that? Because they can manipulate me in my dreams. On the one hand, there are these times when I have these intense interrogations in my dreams. And then on the other hand, I'll have these times where somebody's completely manipulating me in my dream, and I have no control over what's going on. So I'm thinking, okay, if somebody's using this technology to interrogate people in their sleep, well, it doesn't work. I'm here to tell you it doesn't work because they're able to completely manipulate you in your dreams. I'm sorry if some of you guys don't know what I'm talking about, but trust me, this is very real, okay? And it's extremely disturbing. Um, all right, I'm looking through my notes here to see what else there is. Okay, so another reason that I know that they're manipulating my dreams is because um, I was talking about something one day, and it was a very private thing um, that I had gone through, and I was talking about it in detail. And and then, a couple of nights after that, I got this nightmare. I had this nightmare, only the nightmare was associated with what I had been talking about, except that what I had been talking about was a positive experience. It wasn't a negative experience. So I knew that the nightmare wasn't real. Do you see what I'm saying? I was talking about a positive experience that I had, and so then I had a nightmare about it. Like they were trying to, like, whoever is behind this dream technology, they were trying to, like, take that away from me. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you can't ever have happy experiences. We're just going to take that away and turn it into a nightmare. And then not only that, but it's really hard for me to explain this Okay, it's just if it happened to you, you'd understand what I'm talking about. I just knew that I've had several reasons for knowing they've manipulated my dreams before, that occasionally they manipulate my dreams. I mean, maybe they always do, I don't know, but there's just certain times that I'm fully aware of it. When I wake up, I'm just like, I know that was a manipulation dream or an interrogation dream or whatever. But I just knew that, like, they had apparently, whoever had manipulated this dream, they thought they understood the story, but they didn't. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, they twisted it in a way that just was not accurate. And so I knew that it wasn't my dream. Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I was talking about a story, something that had happened, but I left out certain details, and they twisted it in my dream to where it wasn't accurate. It was nowhere near what had actually happened. Do you see what I'm saying? So there I knew that it was somebody interfering with my dreams because that was not what happened. And I wouldn't, it's hard to explain, but when you've been having dreams your whole life, you know when they start changing and things are not normal. And that's what I'm trying to say. Like around 2010, I started, the intensive electronic harassment started in 2010, like the electromagnetic harassment. And that was when, all of it started. Or at least I became aware of it at that point because it became very intense. And the other thing that was happening right around that same time is they just really hated, I guess they hated this positive experience that I'd had. So they just started attacking me in my dreams. And I started getting all these pop ups on my computer that were associated with what I had talked about. Okay. Then I had a nightmare where I just heard this really loud pop in my head, like a really loud pop. And then it was followed by a buzzing sound. Um, I was having a dream. It seemed I had prayed. This one night I had prayed for help understanding what I mean, I've been doing this, work on this biblical stuff. And I was trying to resolve a couple of riddles that were in the Bible, and so I prayed for help with it, and I actually had a dream that night about what I had been praying for, and it was interrupted with one of these other nightmares, and actually that time it was interrupted with a nightmare and an assault, a physical assault. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember last year when the shards of glass kept appearing on my lawn, and then the year before that when the shards of glass would appear in my house, just in the middle of the floor. Um, I would come home and there'd just be this shard of glass laying in the middle of the floor. That was when my son was 2 years old. And I'm like, what is that? Just right in the middle of my path. You know what I mean? From the door to the kitchen. It was just right there. And it happened like 3 times at that apartment. And this was in a different apartment in a different state. And last summer, I remember I was telling you guys about that and saying, yeah, you remember when those shards of glass, somehow these shards of glass just ended up in the middle of the floor, like out of the blue, like a chunk, like about an inch, um, you know, like a square inch or something. Um, and I was telling you guys about it last summer and saying, oh, I'm just glad that doesn't happen anymore because what I started finding in this apartment were these little hooks that were broken off and they were all in different colors and they were broken off exactly the same way. And I kept finding them just in the middle of the floor. And I'm like, what is this? Where is this coming from? And I mean, I've told you guys a million times before, I'm a professionally trained cleaner. I mean, when I vacuum my house, it's just like it was vacuumed by somebody who's professionally trained. I mean, I don't miss a single square inch of that floor ever. And so, I mean, I knew, I was like, where are these coming from? And then I remember I told you this was last summer, and I said, I'm just glad it's not shards of glass like last year. And sure enough, last summer, right after I said that to you guys, that was when the shards of glass started showing up in my yard. Well, my yard was, I rake and mow my lawn every month or something. And I had planted new seed on my grass, and I had raked and mowed, and I knew, I knew every square inch of that lawn pretty much. And this shard of glass just showed up, like right there in the middle of this one spot. It wasn't near anything else. It was just in the middle of the lawn, in this one spot that I regularly look at. Okay. And I was just like, what is that doing there? And I picked it up, and then, a couple days later or the next day, there was another one in the same spot. And so I can't remember how many times that happened, but I mean, you guys can find the video on it. It was last summer, and I talked about that. Well, now this year, this summer, it happened again, only this time it was a huge chunk of broken glass. And it really, these people somebody's doing it on purpose, okay? It's not an accident. It's being done on purpose. And I, it was this time, it was in the spot right next to the faucet. And I was watering the lawn twice a day. Every year I put new grass seed on the lawn. And when you're growing new grass seed, you water it a couple times a day. So I go over to that faucet like twice a day, okay? Well, um my son had been over there the day before, and he had been um and I can't this might have been like right before I think this was after I had raked, but it was before I had planted the seed or something. I can't remember. But anyway, the point is, my son had gone over there. And, well, the point is, I knew there was no glass over there, okay? That's the first point that's important, because I knew my lawn. And my son was sitting over there, and there was a little boy next door that day. And they were over there giggling to each other and laughing and playing or whatever. And then I went over there like the next day, and there was a huge chunk of broken glass right there where my son had been sitting. And it's just like these people, whoever they are, whoever it is that's doing that, it's like they are, I mean, I don't know if number one, I don't know if they're trying to hurt my child, or if number two, they're trying to maybe create conflict between me and my neighbor. Or number three, they're trying to make it look like I'm a bad mother. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I can't figure out why someone would do that. I mean, I don't personally believe that my neighbor did that. You know what I mean? It was just so weird because it was right after the two little boys had been happily playing. Do you know what I mean? It's like this evil, sinister thing that they do. Like anytime there's something good, something bad will happen. Anytime there's something good that happens, like the two little kids happily playing, anytime something good happens, right away something bad will happen to ruin it. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering if she found a chunk of glass too. You know what I mean? Like she's probably blaming me, like, oh my gosh, she has a chunk of. But I know what these people do. And I've moved around so much that I know that no matter where you live, it's going to happen. No matter where you move to, the same thing is going to happen. That's how it's been for me. So I just know from 17 years of this targeting, I know not to always blame my neighbor. Although I will say those neighbors did move in like 8 months after I moved in. So because I had two neighbors that moved out. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. They had a huge party on Memorial Day, and I found all these beer bottle caps in my yard and toys and stuff. And I was just like, whatever, I just put back their toys and threw their bottle caps away. And I was just kind of like, whatever, it's Memorial Day, no big deal. But then this last week again, I found a baseball in my yard, which is different. I mean, it's one thing if they're little tiny plastic toys or like a big air ball, but a baseball, that I don't like. I mean, that could really hurt my child. You know what I mean? Somebody throwing a baseball into my yard. So that I was kind of upset about. And then I found this disgusting, like, ball of Kleenex with ew. I mean, it's like what? Now they're throwing trash into my yard. So I don't know. I mean, I just don't understand it, you guys. I don't understand what's going on. It's really hard for me to understand why these people do what they do because it is somebody's doing this, okay? I mean, somebody's doing it. You don't just have a chunk of glass show up just by accident. Somebody put that there. It was a big chunk. It was like I could it was like as big as the palm of my hand almost. It was maybe not quite that big, but like it was big. It was like the size of a golf ball. Okay. Um, okay, now the most recent thing that's been going on is I will go into the kitchen in the morning and see all of this food stuck on my son's chair and under his chair, crumbs and stuff. And I clean my son's chair and I clean the floor every single time he eats. Okay, every single time he eats. After he's done, I clean it all. But I would go into the kitchen in the morning and it'd be dirty again. And I kept thinking, wow, did I miss that? The first time I'm like, wow, did I miss that? And I just clean it up. Like, that's weird. I don't usually do that. Then the next morning, I'm like, again? No, come on. And then the next morning, I'm like, this is weird. This isn't right. I know I cleaned that. So last night, I made sure to double check like 3 times. I'm like, it is clean. Remember that. It's clean. Make sure you realize that is clean. And I just reminded myself like 3 times before I went to bed. Well, I mean, just so you guys know, my son is never playing in the kitchen by himself. And I'm always the last one in the kitchen. Okay, always. And so last night, like I said, I double checked like 3 times. Okay, it's clean. I know it's clean. So if I come in here tomorrow and it's dirty, I know it wasn't me that did it. Okay, so that's what I was thinking last night. So this morning, I go in the kitchen and sure enough, there's crumbs underneath my son's chair. Not quite as bad as what I had been seeing several nights before that. But I saw some crumbs under his chair and I'm like, I know that was clean. But this morning, his jacket was in the middle of the kitchen floor. And it had been on the night before, it had been on the chair. And I'm telling you, from where the chair was to where his jacket was in the morning, there are 6 to 7 feet. There is no way, absolutely no way, that that jacket got there by itself. There is absolutely no way. Okay? And not only that, it was under something else. And that other thing that it was under, it hadn't even moved. So, I mean, it really freaks me out because the only way I can think of that jacket would be in the middle of the floor is if somebody was in my house last night. And if somebody was in my house, I don't know how they got in because I think I have really good locks on my doors. So I don't know how they would have got in, but I don't know how else that jacket could have ended up in the middle of my floor. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, this is really freaky. And this is the kind of stuff that we go through constantly. I've been going through this kind of stuff. I mean, the gang stalking started, like I said, like 17 years ago. And I personally think that possibly the ones that are behind this is the church. I told you guys about this before because my mother filed a report to the church saying that I had been abused by one of their preachers, and this was a year before the gang stalking started. Okay? So, I mean, I think that it might be the church that's behind it. That's behind this gang stalking, but it's been going on for 17 years. Um, okay, and I think that's pretty much it. That's my update. So I'll let you guys go. But I just wanted to make sure you knew that it hasn't stopped. I mean, just because I'm not talking about it doesn't mean that it's not still going on. And I mean, the stuff that's happening is really freaking scary and painful. It's physically painful. I'm being assaulted. It's terrifying to think that people are in my house in the middle of the night and I don't know how they got there. I can't explain it any other way. That's not the first time that kind of stuff has happened. Okay, so and nobody cares. Okay, and I am fully convinced. I am fully convinced that all of the people right now that are living this society that have been told by somebody in their life that this kind of stuff is happening to them and they're not doing anything about it, they've got it coming to them. Because if somebody has told you that this is happening to them and you don't care and you're not doing anything to help, it's going to happen to you. It will happen to you eventually. You know what I mean? Because this is the kind of thing that is being done by it's organized crime. It doesn't just go away. It doesn't just go away by itself. Oh, you just ignore it and stick your head in the sand and it's going to leave. No, organized criminals do not go away. They just get bigger and they get worse. It just gets worse and it becomes more widespread. So I'm just here to just to offer my testimony for other people that are going through the same thing. You're not alone. Um, and and also just for anybody else that's listening to this, that maybe isn't going through this, just to raise awareness so that people realize that, you know what, this is the kind of stuff that's happening to innocent people right now, and it's happening all over the world. It's not just happening in the United States. It's happening all over. There are targeted individuals speaking out all over the world right now. And it's always the same kind of stuff. So, not all of those people are honest. There are a lot of people that are claiming to be targeted individuals and they're not. So, I mean, just be wary of that because what they're trying to do is they're trying to discredit us. So they're trying to make it look like targeted individuals are all bad people or they're all crazy people or, something like that. I mean, I'm not on drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink. I don't even take aspirin. Okay. I eat organic food. I don't eat pesticides. We don't even eat sugar in my house. We're vegan. I have a vegan household. We're extremely healthy household. And, so, on the one hand, I think, well, maybe that's why we're targeted because, I have actually been health conscious since around 95, 96 as well. So, I mean, I don't really know. Another thing was I had just gotten back from Japan in 95, 96. So I don't really know who is behind this. But I mean, like I said, part of me thinks that it could be a widespread extortion attempt to just get everybody on pharmaceutical drugs, you know? And so if you're not sick with cancer or something in the hospital from all the chemicals in the foods, if you don't have cancer or you're not sick and you're not taking pharmaceutical drugs, then maybe that's why you're being targeted. I don't know. It's just an idea. It's a thought I've had. It's just the same as if, you know, somebody owned a tire shop in some neighborhood and they kind of were running out of money, so they decided to go slash some people's tires so that they could get some more business. I mean, it that's what extortion is, right? I mean, I mean, that's sometimes I think that's what's really going on here is they want, because that's the solution. You know what the solution is, right? Oh, you need to take a pill every day. You need to spend $500 or to $1,000 a month, um, and you need to give $500 to $1,000 a month to the pharmaceutical companies. That's the solution to your problem. Okay, okay. Have a nice day. That's what it seems to me like the solution always is. If you go to the police, they send you a psychologist. If you go to a psychologist, they give you a pill to take and they get a kickback from the pharmaceutical company. It just really sometimes seems like a grand extortion um, plan by the pharmaceutical company. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, okay? But that's what it seems like to me because you can't get help. You can't get help from anybody. I mean, and it's what's really weird about it, what really gets me, and this is why I've been studying the Bible so much, is that the Bible actually talks about this stuff. Like it actually talks about how these people are doing things in secret and they think they're never going to they think they're going to get away with it and no one will ever find out because it's all in secret and nobody will ever know. I mean, these technologies that they have, it's not something you can see, you know, with your eyes, you know what I mean? So they really, it's getting out of control. They think they can do it to whoever they want to do it and they're going to get away with it and no one will ever find out. And what I'm saying is more people need to start speaking out. All I can do is speak out and tell my story. That's all I can do right now. But I mean, people need to start like using their resources, whatever it is, whatever your resources may be, to get the word out, to figure out how to detect these technologies that they're using, these weapons that they're using. I mean, it would just be like if people were running around shooting people with paint guns all day long. Oh, they're not dying. They just got splattered with red paint and they have to keep, you know, it would be like you had a bunch of juvenile delinquents running around like shooting people with BB guns all day long and the police were just like, yeah, so what? Maybe you need to go get some pharmaceutical pills. I mean, it's really disgusting. It's putrid the way our society is right now. And we need to just, we have to step up and we have to develop methods for detecting these weapons because it's only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. So, anyway, I'm done, you guys. I just wanted to give you that update. And I hope you're doing okay. All right. Bye.